right. What is your name and where were you born?
My name is Charlie Moran, and I was born in New York City
And when were
in
you
the
born?
Rockaways in 1939.
1939. Okay. What drove you to be a firefighter?
Well, when I got out of high school, I went into the service, and I come out. I went to Brooklyn College for a while, and then the test was coming up for the police department and the fire department, and I decided to take both tests, which I did. And then I got called for the police department, and my brother had been a policeman and then went on to become a fireman. And I asked him, should I take it? I'm going to be called soon for the fire department. He says, I would wait and go on the fire department if it was me. Because I enjoyed the fire department more than I did the police department. So I waited and became a fireman. I got appointed in the first class off my list in 1962, February 1962. And I went to the Fire Academy, which at that time was in 4 different places. We went to Randall's Island, we went to 69th Street, Manhattan to the Lao School, Randall's Island to the Ho School. We went to Long Island City for classroom type thing, first aid and all that stuff. And I forget where, we went to Long Island City. I forget where else we went, but we went.
So how old were you?
I was 22
Oh, okay.
when I was appointed. And I got assigned to the Upper West Side of Manhattan on 100th Street, which was at that time the 5th busiest firehouse in the city.
Wow.
It was an urban rural area where a lot of buildings were being torn down, and other buildings were being renovated. There was a lot of drugs in the area.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there for about 4 years. I got appointed. I had a black guy who broke me in and a Puerto Rican lieutenant. So you realize that the fire department's made up of a lot of different types of people.
Yeah.
And they were both very good to me. And I was there for a while, and they told me that if you die in Manhattan, you get buried at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And I thought, oh boy, am I lucky.
That's funny.
And I was there for about 4 years, 5 years, and I decided I was going to study for lieutenant. And I transferred out to Far Rockaway. And while I was in Far Rockaway, I saw some of the biggest fires I saw in my whole career in the fire department.
Was it
Because
scary?
there were big hotels that were burning down.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was interesting. And then I got promoted to lieutenant. I was 32 years old, and I was assigned to Brownsville, Brooklyn, which was the busiest firehouse in the city. And I just loved it.
Yeah.
I had good people I worked with. I had some firemen there saying, how old are you? And I said, I'm 32. They said, holy gee, we got probies older than you. I said, yeah, well, I got 10 years on the fire department.
Yeah.
I'm your boss, so you'll just have to live with it. And
What about when were women first, like, do you remember when they first
yes,
started?
the women. I was in an engine company, 231, which is was on Watkins and Pitkin, and I transferred after 6 years to the truck company, about a 120 truck, and I was in 120 truck a couple of years when the first women were assigned. And they were assigned to, there was a woman assigned to 231 by name of Cannon, her last name was. And it caused a little upheaval because the first group of women that came on the fire department had taken the same exam as all the fellas did that came on at that time. And none of them got past the physical. So a federal judge stepped in and declared the physical illegal, and they had to redesign the physical. And
So did
about
men and
3
women
years
have
later,
different ones?
about 3 years later, these 40 girls who had taken the test and failed the physical were given a new exam that the federal judge approved of, and they all passed the exam and got assigned to fire. At the same time, there were veterans coming home from the service who were given a separate test afterwards.
Yeah.
And they had to take the original physical. They weren't allowed to take the physical that the women
That's weird.
were told they could take by a federal judge. So anyway, this girl got assigned, and she was all right. I mean, I didn't really have any direct supervision over her, as I was in the truck company. But she was loud, boisterous.
Were there different conditions in the firehouse when she came? Like,
Well, not really. I mean, the captains decided that in the bunk rooms, most of the firemen, when they laid down at night after a fire, if they were fatigued or something, they would just lay in their beds,
yeah,
And the bathrooms were all men's bathrooms. Basically, they had urinals and everything else. And they decided that they would just put a hook and eye on a bathroom door, like you would at your home.
yeah. It's felt like a lot
So
better.
if you had to use the restroom, you would go in, just lock the door, and do that. So there was no problem with that, right?
Did people treat her any differently, or did everyone treat her the same?
Yeah, they did, but I think a lot of it was her attitude.
Oh, okay.
She had an attitude that was a little in your face,
Yeah.
and because of that, most probies they don't like to hear from in the firehouse. And because of that, she had a little problem, but nothing really earth-shattering.
So did like more women come later? Do you remember other women?
Well, no. I left not too long after she was assigned, and I made captain, and I was assigned to Manhattan
Yeah.
in 9 Truck, which is downtown on Great Jones Street.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was covering, I was asked if I would want this firehouse that they had just assigned a woman to. It was a truck company, and it was the first truck company in the city ever to be assigned a woman. There were 40 women now on the job at this time, but this girl transferred from the engine into the truck. And they came to me. The guy who was running the program for the integration of the fire and the police had been my captain in Brownsville, and he said to me, "Charlie, I know you can handle it." I said, "So I don't know if I want to handle it."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I'd like you to take this company because I know you do the right thing." So I took the company. I became captain of this company, and this girl she was a doll. I had no problem with her at all. She did everything that she was supposed to do. She worked out. She worked hard, and I had no problem with her. I had very good communication with her.
Yeah.
And if anything was bothering me, she would tell me, and I would take whatever action I had to take.
Was she paid equally to everyone?
She was paid equally to everybody else, and I liked her. I liked her attitude. I went to fires with her. I had her assigned to me in my group, and we went to fires together. And anything I ever asked her to do with a fire, she did, what she tried to do.
Yeah.
And really, all you want from anybody in the fire service is you want effort.
Yeah. And that's what she gave you.
And she gave me good effort.
Yeah.
In fact, at one point, there was a problem in the firehouse. Some guys were a little silly. They were complaining about her and blah, blah, blah. I came in, I heard about it, and I lined them all up. I had both companies, and I told them, listen, if they come down tomorrow and tell me that you have to get rid of 3 people or 4 people, I said, she wouldn't be one of them.
Yeah.
So look around, figure out what kind of effort you're giving me, and what kind of effort your friends are giving all of us
Yeah.
when we go to a fire, and you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
So I never had another problem with them like that.
Uh-huh. Do you think it changed like the New York City Fire Department?
Well, it did change it. Did it change it for the better? I don't know, because the problem was the physical, and the city loused it up in that once they decided to give the separate physical to the women, the fire department is a game of upper body strength.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of women who would pass the exam if it was given normally, if they were told how to work out for it.
Yeah.
But just to change the exam and make it a different exam, that's where the problem came in with most of the fire. So, but are there women that could pass that exam? There are a lot of women that could pass it. Swimmers would probably pass it.
Yeah.
Girls who are athletic would pass it. But to change the exam, I don't feel was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Because it like changed the people that were coming.
In fact, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine was the captain in another company downtown Manhattan, and he had a woman for the first time. The girl I had was strong enough; she could do everything she was supposed to do. She could start the store, and he got assigned a slight girl. Her name was Brenda Berkman. She became the first captain in the fire department, female captain.
Oh,
At the time, she was young Proby, and she came in, and he said to her, "Start the sword." She was detailed to him for 30 days, and he was supposed to evaluate her.
mm-hmm.
So he came down, and he said they will have assignments. If you were given a certain assignment, you had to start certain equipment.
Yeah.
And he said to her, "Start the saw," and she made an attempt to start the saw. She couldn't start it. So he says, "Well, keep at it until you can get it going, because if it was at a fire, if we would need that saw, you'd have to be able to start it." So she claimed that her arm was hurting,
Yeah.
so he called a medical doctor to examine her.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor gave her 2 hours rest. And when the 2 hours rest was over, she was put back on full duty. He said, "Start the saw." This started to create a little problem. The doctor came down, "What are you doing? Why didn't you leave it?" He said, "Because she's got to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a matter of her getting in condition to do it, whatever. But if I need her in the company, I need her to be able to start the equipment."
Yeah.
So he later went to court because she got rejected from the fire department because she couldn't do the truck work. She was just, small slide truck. And when he went to court, the lawyer, her lawyer, got him on the stand and said to him, "You don't believe any woman can be a fireman, do you?" And he says, "Oh, my mother could have been a fireman." He said she was a superintendent in the building. He said she used to carry the ashes out from the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
from the basement,
Yeah.
put it out in the street all the time.
Yeah.
He said she was a very strong woman. She could have definitely been a fireman. And the lawyer realized that he asked the wrong question to the wrong person. But anyway, she did work out and practice, and she started to soar, and they put her back on the job, and she later, as I said, she studied and became a lieutenant and then a captain. She was the first captain of the New York City Fire Department. I was out of the job by that time.
Okay. And last one is like, are other family members, like as we saw like Martina, like now, do you think the fire department's changed? Do you think it's more women in the fire department than there were?
I haven't really kept in count on how many women are on the fire department. But Martina, who you know,
Yeah.
when I transferred out of Manhattan, I transferred to the Rockaways,
Yeah.
and she was in my firehouse.
Her mom, right?
Her mom was in my firehouse, and she was very nice. She was very good. She worked hard. She gave you good attitude. And as I said, attitude is the thing that you always look for in a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who would make the attempt anyway to come and get you.
Yeah, as long as they do that, it was
But
what
make the
mattered.
attempt.
Yeah.
So
And any other experiences you'd like to share? Or shared a lot, so.
No, I mean, I thought it was a good job, and it's a good job for a woman if she's in shape to do it.
Yeah.
One of the arguments you always see, people say, well, the older firemen would have trouble with a lot of these things, a lot of these things that are on exam. And I say, yeah, it's true. But where are the older females going to be 15 years from now?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many of them are still around in the fire service.
Yeah.
You know,
That would be
but as I said, I don't follow it that close. But I had no problem, and I thought the guys, this girl that I had in Manhattan, Sylvia Salters, she was very good.
Mm-hmm.
She had very good attitude, and she was strong. She was about 5'7", and she worked out. She lifted weights all the time, and she was the head of the group of firefighters. They had appointed the original 40. You know, they created an organization, and she became like the head of the president of the organization.
Okay.
And I never really had a problem with her. I liked her.
That's pretty interesting.
And I don't think most of the other firemen after a while felt the same way about it.
Yeah.
But the city, in its wisdom, they managed to screw that up in that they came and they asked her, are you ready for another female in that fire, this particular firehouse? And she said, right now, everybody is treating me so well that I would like to pass on it for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they do? They took a girl who was totally out of shape and they put her in the firehouse.
Oh.
And she wasn't assigned to me, she was assigned to the engine company. And she just wasn't equipped to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
She had failed numerous times in the school, and they kept making different excuses and exceptions and everything else. She was a very nice girl, though. Her attitude was very good and everything else, but physically she was a mess. And she was older, because all this took time. All this, but they only give the exam about every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take the exam and then you get turned down and then you rub it on again, everything else, it's 8 years later. So if she took it when she's 27, now she's 33, 34.
Yeah.
But she managed to survive for a while, and she passed everything and caused a little dissension in the firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fellas didn't think that she was strong enough to pull them out if they got in trouble.
They got in trouble, yeah. It's all like teamwork, right?
Yeah, so teamwork. And so this girl later on got injured at a fire, and then she got caught in a window. And she fell out onto a courtyard and got hurt. And I think that was the end of it, right? She never went back to full duty.
Yeah.
So, but it was an experience that I always felt I had a mother,
Yeah.
I had a wife, I had daughters, so I wanted to be treated fairly, and I think that's the attitude of most of the people that were in it and responsible, and felt that if it's going to happen, let it be.
I agree. All right.
That's about it. You have any
We're
other?
good. I think
any
we're
other
good.
questions?
Nope. That's awesome. Thank you.
How long was it?
19.
That's perfect.